"Hey, we're giving them your room," my mom said casually over breakfast. I smiled and replied, "Cool, I'll start packing my things tonight." The next day I signed a lease, without telling them. She'd said it just like that. No build-up and no apology. Like she was commenting on the weather. "We're giving them your room," she repeated, slicing her bagel carefully, like she hadn't just dropped that on me out of nowhere. I was 23, still living at home, working full-time in a warehouse, while trying to save enough to move out without putting myself in a financial hole. Every paycheck was a juggling act. Some for savings, some for bills, some to help out with groceries or to cover the water heater I'd paid for last fall. No one really seemed to remember that last part. I wasn't freeloading. I was being strategic, patient, like someone living on borrowed time. "Cool," I said again. I even smiled, just enough to show I wasn't shaken. "I'll start packing my things tonight." That was the exact moment I knew I was done. It wasn't just about the room. The room was simply the last straw, the final crack in the illusion I'd been holding together since high school. I never really felt like I belonged in that house. I was convenient, like a quiet appliance that no one noticed until it stopped working or got in the way. I went to work that morning like everything was normal, but something inside me had already shifted. I wasn't coming back. Not for good. I didn't tell anyone. I just spent my lunch break scrolling through listings. I found a modest one-bedroom place 10 minutes from work and paid the deposit then and there. 6 months up front. I'd been saving for something else, maybe a car, maybe some undefined version of the future, but this felt more right. That evening, I still came home, still smiled when my mom asked me to take out the trash, still fixed the Wi-Fi when it went down during dinner, because my sister had an online tutoring session, but in my head, I'd already left. That night, I started planning the slow unraveling of all the things I did for them. I began with the lawn. Every Saturday morning for the past year and a half, I mowed it, trimmed the edges, cleaned up afterward, even reseeded patchy spots in the spring. I never said anything, I just did it. Quiet, invisible labor. My dad used to do it, but once I was old enough to push the mower, it somehow became my job. No one thanked me, no one even noticed. That weekend, I let the grass grow. It had already been high from the rain the week before, and I didn't touch it. I walked right past the shed with the mower, and went out for coffee like it was just another day. When I got back, my dad was standing in the yard, arms crossed, staring at the overgrown lawn like it had personally offended him. "You forget to mow?" he asked, already irritated. I shrugged. "Nope, just didn't feel like it." He blinked, confused. "You gonna get to it later?" "Don't think so," I said, brushing past him. "Got other things to do." It was a small act of resistance, but the impact was immediate. By Sunday night the Wi-Fi was down again. My sister was yelling from her room because her Zoom session cut out mid-call. Normally I'd reset the router, swap the old cable, reboot the system. I'd done it so many times I could do it with my eyes closed. Instead I stayed in the kitchen, putting chili into containers and pretending not to hear. "Mom," my sister shouted, panicked. "The Wi-Fi's out again. I don't know how to fix it." "Where is he?" My mom's. I let them struggle for half an hour, before casually walking out the door with my meal prep. No one said a word. That week, I stopped picking up my sister from school. I didn't warn anyone. I'd been doing it nearly every Tuesday and Thursday for months. My mom's schedule didn't allow it, and my dad wouldn't leave work early, so I adjusted mine to help out quietly. Like everything else, Thursday came and went. My sister sat in the school office for 2 hours before someone could get her. When I came home, the tension was thick. "You forgot your sister today," my mom said flatly. "No," I replied, setting down my keys. "I didn't forget." She stared at me. I just walked past her into my room. I think that's when it really hit them, how much I did, but that was only the beginning. By the third day, the kitchen sink started leaking again. A steady, familiar drip. I'd fixed it the year before, even gone across town to find the right gasket. Never mentioned it. I just took care of it. Now it was back, and so was the puddle under the cabinet. I passed by as my dad knelt there with paper towels and a flashlight like he was solving a mystery. "You know how to fix this, don't you?" he asked. Yeah, I said, and I kept walking. I said, pausing in the doorway. I do. He looked up, waiting. I kept walking. That night, after dinner, I didn't clean up. No rinsing dishes, no wiping counters. I just stood, stretched, and went to my room, while the rest of them clinked forks and pretended they weren't noticing. The tension was a living thing by now, pulsing through the wall. On Friday, I got a text from my mom while I was at work. Can you cover the power bill this month? We forgot it's due today, and your father's check hasn't come in yet. I stared at it for a moment. For the past year, I'd covered bills like that more often than not, quietly, automatically. I'd saved them from late fees more times than I could count. I even set reminders in my own phone, so they wouldn't be cut off. Not this time. I texted back. Sorry, I've got rent now, remember? She didn't reply. The next day, the porch light was off when I came home. The house was darker than usual, quiet. My sister was at the table, frustrated and flipping through her math homework, scribbling with the wrong end of a pencil. You didn't go get the printer paper? She asked, without looking up. I had always bought it. I had always remembered. Nope, I said, dropping my backpack by the door. Thought someone else might this time. She threw the pencil down and stomped off. My mom just watched from the hallway, eyes narrowed like she was trying to figure me out, like I was a puzzle with swapped out pieces. I smiled at her, not smug, just calm. Things were falling apart. Not because I was doing anything cruel or dramatic. All I'd done was step back. That was the scary part for them. They were finally seeing the threads I'd been holding together. Saturday morning came with no coffee. I heard the clatter of cabinet doors, the faint mutter from my mom when she realized they were out of grounds. I'd been the one to keep that stocked too. Bulk bags from the store near my job, always grabbed on my way home. Never mentioned, just Now they were staring at an empty canister and a silent Keurig like it was some kind of betrayal. I sat in the living room eating cereal, fully dressed, keys in hand. I didn't say a word. My mom looked at me over the rim of her mug, which she had filled with hot water and nothing else. You going out? She asked, tone neutral but probing. Yeah, I said, finishing the last bite. Meeting the landlord. Going to grab a few things. She stiffened slightly. Landlord. I just nodded and stood up, walking out the door before she could ask more. I was back 2 hours later, a few boxes heavier, a little more resolved. That afternoon, I started clearing out my room, not all at once, not loud or theatrical, just slow, methodical, box by box. I carried each one out to my car, tucked it in the back seat or trunk, and went back for more. I could feel their eyes on me the whole time. Nobody asked where I was going. Nobody offered to help. By the time dinner rolled around, I was halfway done. My dad tried to act normal, flipping through channels like nothing was happening. My sister stayed glued to her phone. My mom tried to draw a line in the sand. So, we talked, and we think maybe it would be better if we waited a bit on giving your room to Claire. I paused mid-bite, fork hovering over my plate. Why? She glanced at my dad, who pretended not to note. Well, with everything going on, maybe it's not the right time. I chewed, swallowed. No, it's the perfect time. They all went still. I signed a lease already, I said. I'm moving out by Tuesday. My sister blinked. Wait, you're serious? I looked at her, deadpan. Claire, you packed my things into storage bins when I wasn't home. I found them shoved under the stairs. So yeah, I'm serious. She went quiet. My mom's voice was soft now. You should have said something. I did, I said. You just didn't hear it, because I smiled when I said it. And then I kept eating calmly, while the three of them sat in silence, like the roles had reversed overnight, and they weren't sure how or when. They'd finally realized I wasn't bluffing, and I wasn't coming back. By Monday night, I was a ghost in my own house. Boxes were stacked by the front door, labeled neatly with black marker kitchenware, clothes, tools, miscellaneous, tech. Everything I had ever claimed as mine was already in the trunk of my car or in my new apartment, sitting empty but full of promise just 20 minutes away. But I didn't rush. No late-night escape. No slamming of doors. I wanted them to see how quiet the house became when I wasn't operating behind the curtain. The garbage hadn't been taken out. No one remembered to bring in the mail. The toilet in the upstairs hallway kept running every few hours with that annoying gurgle, something I'd fixed 3 times already. But not this time. I walked past all of it with a strange peace in my chest. At one point, my dad cornered me in the kitchen. "You really think you're doing the right thing here?" he asked, arms crossed, pretending to care more than he did. I opened the fridge. Half the stuff inside I'd bought last week. A 6-pack of yogurt no one touched but me. Half a jug of orange juice that always disappeared before I could finish it. I grabbed a water and turned to him. "Yeah," I said, for the first time in a long time. "You think it's easy out there? Rent, bills, all that?" I stared at him for a bit too long. I smiled. "I've been paying your bills for a year. Think I'll manage mine just fine." He didn't answer, just stared like he was waiting for the punchline that never came. And then he left the kitchen. Upstairs, my sister's door was open. I caught a glimpse of my old room, now hers. She had already started decorating it with string lights and pastel pillows, but the shelves I built into the wall were still there. The patch in the drywall I fixed when she kicked it in during a tantrum, still holding strong. She caught me looking. "You could have just said no," she mumbled, not even making eye contact. I nodded. "And you could have asked." I kept walking. It wasn't anger anymore. That had burned out days ago. What was left was something sharper, cleaner, clarity. Tuesday morning I was gone. I loaded the last box into the back seat and took one last look at the house. Not with sentiment, not with sorrow, just observation. The porch light was still broken. The recycling bins were overflowing. The Wi-Fi was down again. It all felt poetic. Before I left, I walked into the kitchen and taped a single sheet of paper to the fridge. Black ink. Straight facts. No emotion. It read, "Things I've handled that you probably didn't notice. Mowed the lawn every week. Took out trash and recycling. $1,200 over 9 months. Picked up Claire from school 32 times. Replaced porch light bulbs. 3x. Cleaned up after dinner most nights. Quietly paid $200 toward Dad's car repair. Kept this house running while being treated like a guest. Good luck handling it all now. I'm off to live like a guest in my own place." Then I locked the door behind me. For the last time. I didn't hear from them the first day, but by the second, the calls started. First it was my mom. Missed call. Then a text. "Hey, the internet's out. Do you remember the login for the route?" Then my dad, trying to mask his irritation with practicality. "Where'd you put the mower key?" I didn't answer either of them. By Friday, the texts turned into small storms of guilt and confusion. Claire messaged me with just one word. "Seriously, I guess they thought that I'd come back to help out once things got rough. Maybe they thought moving out was symbolic, like I was making a point, not a permanent change. They were wrong. Meanwhile, my apartment was starting to feel like mine. I put up shelves, picked out dishes, played music as loud as I wanted. The silence I used to crave was finally real. Not cold, not forced, just quiet, like the world had finally stopped expecting things from me. The next week, my mom called again. This time, I picked up. Her voice was tight, brittle at the edges. "You didn't have to leave like that." I didn't argue, just waited. "We didn't realize how much you were doing," she continued. "The trash, the bills. I didn't know it was that much." "Yeah," I said simply. "I know." Silence hung there for a second too long. "Claire's been struggling with the school pickup. We both work, and she's not used to the bus." I didn't say anything. We didn't think it would fall apart so quickly." "That's because you never saw what was holding it up," I said. Another long pause. Then, "Well," she said, trying to compose herself. "I hope you're happy out there." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. I was and am, and the days that followed felt strange, like I was watching my old life through a window I couldn't open. Claire stopped texting when I ignored her last message. My dad didn't bother calling again, probably too proud, and my mom sent a few awkward messages here and there, always wrapped in something passive. "Hope you're doing okay. Things are a bit chaotic here. Not saying we miss you, but it's different." I didn't respond, but I kept hearing things through mutual friends and neighbors. The lawn had grown wild. Claire missed a few pickups and had to walk home in the rain again. The water got turned off for half a day before they remembered to pay, and the porch light flickered like it was signaling SOS. They were drowning in little things, the stuff they thought just happened, things I used to do on autopilot. And the funny part, I wasn't gloating. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just done. I settled into my new rhythm. I started cooking for myself. Small meals. Nothing fancy, but they tasted better than anything I ever ate in that house. Not because the food was better, but because it was mine. I started sleeping better too. No creaking floorboards outside my room at 2 a.m. No sudden knocks on my door asking if I could run to the store. No constant hum of obligation in the back of my head. Just silence. Honest silence. One night, a week and a half after I left, I got home late from work and found a small envelope tucked under my apartment door. No return address, just my name on the front, and my mother's handwriting. Inside was a folded piece of lined notebook paper. The top read, "We didn't realize." Underneath was a list, not as neat as mine. No bullet points, just scattered thoughts. Trash, Claire's rides, the Wi-Fi, groceries, the way the sink won't stop dripping, the thing with the porch light, the quiet. At the bottom, one sentence, "We didn't treat you like a son. I'm sorry." That was it. No plea to come back. No promise to do better. Just an acknowledgement. And for the first time since I left, I felt something shift. Not toward them, but inside me. It wasn't closure, but maybe it was enough. I didn't respond to the letter. Not because I didn't feel anything. Believe me, I did. I stared at it on my kitchen counter for hours. Read it again the next morning. Folded it. Unfolded it. Thought about what it meant. But a letter can't undo years of being invisible. A list scribbled in ink doesn't erase all the times I was only noticed when something broke or needed paying for. They'd started to see the gap I left behind. That much was clear, but now it wasn't my job to fill it. By the second week, I heard that Claire had finally taken the bus on her own, though she missed it twice, and had to wait in the rain again. My mom started paying for a lawn service, and my dad apparently tried to reset the Wi-Fi by unplugging the modem for a whole day, knocking out the house alarm and their smart TV in the process. They were learning slowly, awkwardly, the same way you learn to walk again after forgetting how to use your legs. And me, I was thriving in the absence of their needs. I started doing things I hadn't allowed myself before. I bought a bookshelf, not because I needed one, but because I wanted one. I started eating out every Friday, like it was a ritual. I even signed up for a weekend woodworking class, something I'd put off for years, because someone always needed a favor, a ride, a payment. The weight was gone, and I hadn't even realized how heavy it had been until it wasn't mine anymore. One evening, while cleaning out my email, I saw a calendar reminder I'd set months ago. Dad's car registration, check if he's short again. I stared at it for a long moment, and then clicked delete. That night, I sat on my little balcony, legs up on a plastic chair, and just breathed. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for a shoe to drop. I wasn't listening for someone to call my name. I wasn't bracing for another ask, disguised as a favor. The quiet wasn't haunting anymore. It was home. I haven't been back since. Not even to visit. Not even for birthdays. They stopped calling. Maybe they're ashamed. Maybe they're just tired. Or maybe they finally understand that I wasn't the guest in that house. I was the foundation. And when a foundation walks away, everything shifts. The list I left taped to the fridge is probably still there. Or maybe they took it down, like you do with something that makes you feel too guilty to look at. Either way, it served its purpose.